Hello, and welcome to the My BFF Business Leaders Podcast, your new secret weapon for business success. Sponsored by My BFF Social Media, Marketing, and Advertising. Make sure to hit subscribe. Now let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we're jumping headfirst into something that, honestly, feels like trying to nail jelly to a wall sometimes.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. Navigating PR, building brand awareness, especially now in this, wild new world shaped by AI, social media constantly shifting. It feels less about hitting one target and more about dodging and weaving in the crossfire.
Absolutely. The playbook, it seems like it's being rewritten almost weekly. And for businesses, whether you're big or small, just cutting through all that noise to genuinely connect with people. It's tough. Tougher than ever, I'd say.
It really is. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together a bunch of sources. We're definitely leaning quite a bit on insights from this one article. It's got a great title. From press releases to TikTok teasers, real-time PR in the age of AI.
Yeah, that one's key.
But we're also weaving in perspectives from, various blogs, places like My BFF Social, Everyone's Social, Mention, Sprout Social, and also some really important data points like those ones highlighted in Mary Meeker's big Internet Trends report. You know the one?
Oh, yeah. That's always packed with insights. It's a good mix, I think. Gives a pretty clear picture of the challenges, but also the opportunities right now.
And our mission for you listening in today is basically to dig into all this stuff, pull out the most valuable bits, and help you figure out how those sort of traditional PR ideas need to evolve, or maybe completely transform even for how things work now digitally.
Yeah.
We want to get past the buzzwords, get into actual tactics.
Because, the foundations might still be there, but how you actually build on them, that's changed dramatically.
Definitely has. Oh, and a quick shout out before we really get into the weeds here. This deep dive is brought to you by My BFF Social. They're real experts in media, marketing, advertising, and navigating exactly this kind of complex space it's what they do. You can check them out at www.mybffsocial.com. We'll actually touch on some of their specific insights from the sources a bit later on.
Good call.
Okay, so let's unpack this thing. The first point that just screams out from all these sources is the massive, undeniable shift in the media landscape itself.
It's totally foundational to everything else we'll talk about.
Right, yeah.
That main article puts it really bluntly. The days when you could just send out one single, beautifully crafted press release and expect, widespread public attention.
Yeah.
It's history. Gone.
History. And you feel it, don't you? It's palpable. One source described the environment today as, and I'm quoting here, fractured, fast-moving, shaped by social media, artificial intelligence, and a public that is both more connected and more skeptical. Think about that last bit.
More connected and more skeptical. That's the real tension, isn't it? The core challenge right there.
It is. And, imagine you're running a small business today. A scenario some of these articles use. You wake up and boom, there's a totally new TikTok dance trend taking off, or some huge news story is just dominating X, or maybe some weird AI-generated meme is suddenly everywhere.
Right.
Your potential audience, they're scattered across countless platforms, consuming stuff constantly, often multitasking, and crucially, often without those traditional media gatekeepers filtering things.
It makes the old idea of doing a traditional press tour feel almost quaint, doesn't it?
Kind of quaint. Yeah, and this isn't just a feeling we have. The data, especially from that Mary Meeker report, it really drives this home.
Yeah, it highlighted just how deeply social media is now woven into how people get their information. It was something like roughly a third of U.S. adults get news from social media platforms regularly.
A third, okay.
And globally, it's even more stark. Nearly 4 in 10 people worldwide rely on these platforms as their primary source for news. Primary.
Wow. 4 in 10 globally. That's not some niche side channel anymore. That's a mainstream information highway. A very, very chaotic one maybe, but mainstream.
Absolutely. So for a brand trying to get noticed, that old linear path, press release goes to journalists, gets picked up by publication, audience sees it, it's gone. Doesn't work like that.
Completely gone. It's described now as navigating this complex web of touch points. You have to be there, yes, but it's more than that. You need to be present authentically across this whole web.
Because that's where people are actually encountering information now, including stuff about brands, products, services. It's all mixed in.
Okay, so navigating this fragmented, super fast-moving web, How do you even begin? It sounds overwhelming. But interestingly, these sources, they keep coming back to something really fundamental, something that hasn't actually changed but definitely needs a new approach.
And that's storytelling.
Exactly. Storytelling.
It isn't dead at all. It's just evolved. The core reports, they hit this point again and again. It's not about crapping that one perfect narrative designed for a single news outlet anymore.
Right. It's shifted. Now it's about weaving a consistent narrative, but doing it across every single channel where your audience might actually be hanging out.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Your story on LinkedIn, it needs to feel connected to what you're doing on Instagram and even the vibe you put out on TikTok or maybe in your Substack newsletter. It's got to be the same core identity, just expressed differently using the language of each platform.
Which means brands can't just be like passive broadcasters anymore, just pushing messages out into the void. The blogs we looked at, like Everyone Social and Sprout Social, they really hammer this home. You have to actually become publishers yourselves. You need to be curators, sharing interesting stuff. And maybe most importantly, you have to be conversationalists. Using these platforms not just to talk at people, but to actually talk with them. Build a real community around your brand.
And this connects directly to a really fascinating, maybe slightly troubling point these sources bring up. This kind of paradox of the digital age. We've got access to more information than ever before in history.
But trust is becoming incredibly scarce. It's a huge challenge that the articles really wrestle with.
Yeah.
That same Mary Meeker report, it noted this declining public confidence in traditional media outlets. And now, with the rise of AI, deepfakes, concerns about disinformation they're skyrocketing. It's genuinely hard sometimes to know who or what to believe online.
So in that kind of environment, how do you build any kind of credibility? The sources seem to agree that earned media, getting validated by a trusted third party.
Like traditional journalist maybe, or a respected industry analyst, or even, a really credible influencer.
Right. That kind of validation, it still holds immense value. It acts like a stamp of approval, helps cut through some of that skepticism and noise.
It absolutely does. But crucially, it's not enough on its own anymore. Not in this landscape. Businesses have to be actively cultivating direct trust with their audience, especially on social media, where so many of these interactions are happening now.
And this isn't just like responding to customer service complaints, although that's part of it.
No, it's much more proactive. It's about engagement.
It means being transparent, right? If something messes up, you own it, you address it head on, quickly, honestly, right there on the platforms where people are actually talking about it. It means consistently delivering value, not just sales pitches all the time.
Yeah, think about the brands that really nail this. They share useful, educational content related to their industry. They give you those little behind-the-scenes glimpses into their company culture or how things work. They highlight genuine customer success stories, but in a way that feels real, not just promotional. Mention and Sprout Social's resources. They really dig into this kind of value-driven engagement. All these actions, they build that transparency layer by layer, and they earn trust directly with your community over time.
Okay, so I've got this picture. Fractured landscape, need for consistent storytelling across channels, and this huge imperative to build direct trust in a world that's pretty skeptical. Now, there's one more critical element that these sources highlight as being absolutely, non-negotiable today.
And that's inclusivity.
Yeah.
Several sources, including that main article and definitely the insights from MyBFF Social, are crystal clear on this. Inclusivity isn't just, a nice to have or a good ethical stance. It's actually fundamental business imperative for effective PR now.
And it goes way beyond just simple translation, doesn't it? The idea of multilingual marketing, as it's discussed, isn't just about getting your words into Spanish or French or whatever to reach more eyeballs.
Exactly. It's about making sure that every audience feels seen, heard, and valued. That's the goal. It means you have to adapt your content, your core messaging, your whole story so it resonates culturally. It's about translating the meaning, the tone, the context, not just swapping out individual words.
This is an area where MyBFF Social, our sponsor, clearly has a lot of expertise, and their perspective in the source material was really valuable here. Matt Gentile, their founder and CEO, he's quoted saying something like, our in-language marketing solutions go beyond mere translation.
Right.
We adapt content to resonate culturally with diverse audiences, ensuring our clients' messaging is impactful and inclusive.
That phrase, adapt content to resonate culturally, that's really the key differentiator, isn't it? It's what helps break down not just the obvious language barriers, but also those subtle cultural nuances that can totally make or break whether your message lands as genuine or just completely misses the mark, maybe even offends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing that well allows you to build those meaningful, trusting connections we were just talking about, but with a much broader group of people.
You can immediately see why this is so vital, particularly in certain sectors where that personal connection and trust are just paramount. The sources point to areas like, say, home services or healthcare financial services.
Definitely. Places where people need to feel a really deep level of comfort and understanding with the brand they're dealing with.
Right. So communicating effectively, respectfully in someone's preferred language and within their cultural context, that's not just good customer service anymore. It's fundamental. Fundamental to building loyalty, driving action, making people feel truly understood.
It essentially turns what could be a barrier into a bridge. And that gives you a pretty significant strategic advantage, especially as markets become more and more diverse.
All right, so we've covered the chaotic landscape, the evolution of storytelling and trust building, and this non-negotiable need for deep inclusivity. How do you actually, pull all these different threads together into something coherent? The answer that comes through from the sources is really about integration.
Yeah, it's not about throwing out everything that came before. Those traditional PR tactics, the classic press release, doing direct media outreach, staging events, they still have a role to play. They're not obsolete.
And this is the big but. They can't just exist in their own little silo anymore. They absolutely must be integrated with and amplified by digital channels.
Exactly. A press release isn't just for journalists now. It's also content. Content you can share and discuss on LinkedIn, maybe break down into short explainer videos for TikTok or Instagram Reels, or turn into shareable graphics.
And these tactics, they need to be, as the sources say, personalized for diverse audiences and measured with the latest analytics tools. You can't just throw it out there and hope anymore.
It's really about taking those core PR skills, like identifying a compelling story, knowing how to frame it effectively, building relationships, and then supercharging them with today's technology.
Like using AI, maybe, to analyze trends or even help draft initial content ideas.
Yeah, or leveraging data analytics from platforms like Mention or Sprout Social to really understand how your audience is behaving, measure the impact of what you're doing, and then refine your strategy almost in real time. And of course, integrating that multicultural, inclusive content right from the very beginning, not as an afterthought.
The goal, as the article seemed to conclude, isn't just getting eyeballs anymore. It's about creating campaigns that are both authentic and effective. You need to grab attention, sure, but the real win is earning that trust and building relationships that actually last beyond just one campaign cycle.
That blend, that combination of classic strategy and cutting-edge digital execution, including inclusivity, that seems to be how you achieve it now.
It really feels like the true evolution of PR, where the kind of art of human connection gets powered up by the science of digital reach and data insights.
Which, interestingly, brings us right back to the very core of it all. Despite all this talk about algorithms, AI, data points, these fragmented platforms, the sources, they all kind of wrap up by reminding us what this is fundamentally all about.
Which is?
The human element. It's so easy, with all the automation and technology flying around, to get lost in the mechanics, focus only on the tools.
Yeah, you can get lost in the weeds.
Totally. But the brands that are truly succeeding, the articles argue, are the ones that remember that human connection is still the absolute heart of every good PR effort. Every single piece of content you put out there, whether it's a tweet, a video, a formal press release, even just a reply to a comment.
It isn't just transmitting information, is it?
No, it's an opportunity. Every single time it's an opportunity to tell a story that actually resonates with someone, maybe spark a genuine conversation, and ultimately just make a connection with another human being.
So those fundamentals of PR, compelling storytelling, building real credibility, acting with empathy, they haven't gone away at all. If anything, they're maybe more important than ever in this incredibly complex, noisy environment.
By holding on to those timeless principles and then intelligently applying them using today's tools with a real understanding of diversity and inclusivity, businesses can absolutely build awareness, foster that loyalty, and really thrive.
It's about finding that sweet spot, I guess, where technology amplifies the human touch rather than trying to replace it.
Precisely. Couldn't have said it better.
So, okay, to try and wrap up this deep dive based on our sources, the media landscape. fundamentally changed. It's fragmented, it's fast, it's driven by social and AI. But that bedrock of effective PR storytelling, building trust, that remains absolutely crucial.
Yep.
The key now is adapting those principles, using today's digital tools smartly, prioritizing inclusivity at every single step, and always, always remembering that the ultimate goal is that genuine human connection.
It's a complex challenge, no doubt about it, but I feel like the path forward, drawing on these insights, is becoming clearer.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought for you, listening in, to consider as you navigate your own brand's presence out there. With the sheer volume of AI-generated content likely to just keep increasing, and these real concerns about disinformation continuing to rise, how do you make sure your authentic human story actually cuts through all that noise? How do you build genuine trust with your audience? What's maybe your next specific step in making your brand's PR more real-time, more inclusive, and ultimately more deeply human?
Something to really mull over as you manage your own web of touchpoints.
Definitely. And speaking of navigating that complexity, a huge thank you again to our sponsor, My BFF Social, who helped make this deep dive possible today. If you're listening and thinking, okay, yeah, this landscape is definitely tricky and I could use some expert help integrating these strategies, building those authentic, inclusive connections, well, I highly recommend you reach out to them.
They really get this stuff.
They do. They are absolutely equipped to help with your media, marketing, and advertising needs. You can find them easily online at www.mybfssocial.com.
They really understand this evolving blend of, traditional principles and modern technology.
They really do. And most importantly, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep diving deep into the topics that matter to you in your work.
Until next time.